On World News tonight, security breach. How a live grenade came within 60 feet of President Bush. The FBI says the president was in danger. Showdown in the Senate. The fight over President Bush's judicial nominees begins. All over the country, people are talking about what it means for politics, religion, and the law. Our series on cutting-edge medicine, a simple, fast, and painless way to unclog arteries. The drill that works like a miniature roto-rooter. And state-of-the-art. The latest Star Wars opens tonight. The puppets in the first films have evolved to digital wizardry, technology catching up with imagination.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight, Charles Gibson.
Good evening. The FBI says the president was in danger. Last week, when Mr. Bush was in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, someone managed to get a grenade near the stage where he was speaking. At the time, Georgian authorities said there was no danger to the president. The Secret Service says it didn't even learn about the incident until after the president had left the country. But now it seems there was indeed a very serious breach of security. It turns out the grenade was live and could have done real harm. Here's ABC's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the FBI and Secret Service have launched an international investigation trying to figure out who may have been trying to harm the president.
We consider this act to be a threat against the health and welfare of both the President of the United States and the President of Georgia, as well as the multitude of Georgian people that had turned out at this event.
Sources tell ABC News a Soviet-era RGD-5 grenade wrapped in a red handkerchief fell about 60 feet from where the president was speaking. The pin had been pulled, but the grenade malfunctioned and did not go off. Major James Gravilis is an Army Special Forces security expert.
This hand grenade has a kill radius of about 15 feet, 15 to 20 feet, and a blast radius of about 45 to 60 feet. And it has a fragmentation hazard zone that can go out to about 800 feet.
That means if the grenade had exploded, people in the immediate vicinity would likely have been killed. The president could have felt the blast, and spectators could have been injured hundreds of feet away. Security experts believe Mr. Bush probably would have been protected from flying shrapnel by this bulletproof shield. But they say, make no mistake, this was an extraordinary security breach.
Really, the issue is that someone was able to get a grenade that close to someone, a head of state making a speech. And that really is the concern.
The Secret Service plans to investigate reports that some people in the crowd were seen getting around metal detectors. What security experts fear most is that the grenade was a diversion for other armed suspects who may have been in the audience. Sources tell ABC News, had Secret Service agents been told about the grenade at the time, they probably would have evacuated the president immediately.
The phrase is cover and evacuate. The first decision is to remove the president from the scene and then sort it out afterward. Tonight, the FBI is dissecting the grenade and looking for fingerprints at its national laboratory in Quantico, Virginia. Charlie?
Pierre Thomas in Washington. On Capitol Hill today, the long-awaited showdown over President Bush's judicial nominees began. Few Americans have ever heard of Janice Rogers Brown or Priscilla Owen, but their nominations to federal appeals courts have sparked a debate that could affect the way the Senate does its business, the future of all federal courts, and that has implications in the areas of culture, politics, and religion. It is, in short, a major debate. On Capitol Hill, ABC's Linda Douglas.
Public servant and
Senators called the debate momentous.
We are on the precipice of a crisis, a constitutional crisis.
I do not rise for party. I rise for principle.
The principle, say Republicans, is that the president has the constitutional right to appoint federal judges, and the Senate has a duty to allow a vote on them, up or down.
Confirm the nominee, reject the nominee, but in the end, vote.
No, say the Democrats. The principle is that the minority has the right to block lifetime appointments to the federal bench with a filibuster if they believe the nominees are too extreme.
It's a constitutional check that the Senate was intended by the founders to provide, to keep the executive from acting like a king.
Democrats are threatening to block 7 of Mr. Bush's judicial nominees who would otherwise be confirmed with a majority vote. They say they will filibuster, tie up the Senate by talking, as the fictional Senator Mr. Smith did in a movie 66 years ago.
And I hate to stand here and try your patience like this, but Either I'm dead right or I'm crazy.
Filibusters against judges have been rare until now.
We've never seen the filibuster used for judicial nominations in this targeted fashion in American history.
Republicans used other tricks to block some of President Clinton's judges, but they argue Democrats have gone too far.
This debate is not about principle. It's all about politics, and it's shameful.
Now, the Senate Majority Leader, Bill Frist, is planning to make an extraordinary move on the Senate floor with Vice President Cheney presiding. He would change the Senate rules to ban filibusters against appeals court judges. And Charlie, the Democrats say if he does that, they're going to slow down all legislative business. Some moderates in both parties are trying desperately to find a compromise to head off the showdown, but so far there's just no deal.
A fight that's been coming for weeks, and they've been unable to head it off. Linda Douglas, thanks very much on Capitol Hill. This debate over judges resonates with so many people in the country, especially among those who feel that federal judges are no longer just interpreting the law, but actually making law. ABC's Aaron Hayes reports tonight from the state of Georgia.
God bless America. In places where God Bless America is still standard at community meetings, where folks talk unabashedly about faith and values, there's been a lot of talk about the federal judiciary, and it's not good.
Judges are too liberal.
And they're trying to write laws with their judgments.
They think they can put their will on everybody else, and that's wrong.
There's a lot of angry people right now, and I think they're just responding to a lot of cases that just sort of gets under their skin.
Robert in Tallulah Gorge, what's on your mind today?
The judicial tyranny we talk about.
Martha Zoller, host of a Gainesville, Georgia radio talk show, says resentment's been building a long time over a range of judicial decisions.
And that's what people are so angry about.
Taking the 10 Commandments out of courtrooms, prayer out of schools, even back to legalizing abortion, an issue that still rankles.
It was a judicial decision, not a societal debate. It was handed down by the courts and forced down the throats of everybody.
The last straw for many was the recent decision by a federal judge to overturn Nebraska's ban on gay marriage, infuriating many people in other states who'd voted in similar gay marriage bans, such as here in Georgia.
Who is to say that a judge knows more than the will of the people? That is arrogance at its peak.
Not all agree.
Seems when the judge rules your way, he's following the law. When he doesn't, he's being activist.
But many say judges are now on the public's radar because their power has become so apparent.
Those issues that they address in the court are going to be issues that we as Americans are going to have to live with, for some time.
Whatever happens here, they say, will eventually hit home. Aaron Hayes, ABC News, Gainesville, Georgia.
News from Iraq tonight. There was an audio tape that surfaced on the internet today, apparently from the wanted terrorist Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the man the U.S. blames for so much of the violence in Iraq. In the more than hour-long message, Zarqawi is both defiant and, in a change of tone, defensive. ABC's Nick Watt is in Baghdad.
Zarqawi promises suicide attacks will escalate, but suggests they are not his weapon of choice. Having direct field combat with the enemy was difficult, Zarqawi says. Therefore, it was important to intensify the suicide operations. For more than 40 minutes, Zarqawi tries to justify killing Muslims, hundreds of whom have died in his bombing campaign. Shiite Muslims are legitimate targets, he claims, because they are traitors who collaborate with the Americans. The killing of some innocent Muslims is undoubtedly a great evil, he says, but is allowed, even required, to avoid the greater evil of disrupting jihad or holy war.
He says that it's okay to kill Muslims and that it's an Islamic duty, and he's incorrect.
Throughout the tape, Zarqawi is on the defensive. If the enemy is in full control of Baghdad, he says, the enemy will succeed and will seize the whole nation.
Coalition forces are hitting him very, very hard. He is backed up in a corner, and he's trying to get out of this corner by appealing to the largest Muslim or radical community.
That's the community Zarqawi is still trying to recruit. Nick Watt, ABC News, Baghdad.
And when we come back, the judge whose mother and husband were murdered because of her job. why threats against the judiciary are increasing. The new treatment to unclog blocked arteries, the mini drill, our series Medicine on the Cutting Edge. And the technology that changed the Star Wars, the evolution of Yoda.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Smart Balance Microwave Popcorn.
Aaron Hayes reported a few moments ago from an area where people are expressing anger against judges. We're going to take a closer look tonight at when that kind of anger spills over into violence. There are approximately 700 threats against federal judges each year, countless more against state and local judges. Today in Washington, there was poignant testimony from a federal judge who experienced violence firsthand and paid a terrible price. Here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
Parkville, Missouri, in March.
I know where that judge sits.
The voice is that of a suspect sitting in the back of a police cruiser and railing against a local judge.
I'm going to take him out. I'm ready to shoot him, judge.
A week earlier, a different suspect in Atlanta does shoot a judge in a courtroom and kills him. At the very same time, the Terry Schiavo case was drawing vehement criticism of judges who critics say allowed her to die.
We are not going to put up with that type of judicial arrogance.
A U.S. senator even suggested violence was an understandable consequence of frustration with a judge.
That it builds up and builds up and builds up to the point where some people engage in violence.
And then the Reverend Pat Robertson said some judges are a threat to the country.
It's probably more serious than a few bearded terrorists who fly into buildings.
Today, one of those judges said enough.
The fostering of disrespect for judges can only encourage those who are on the edge or on the fringe to exact revenge on a judge who displeases them.
Judge Joan Lefkoe was not speaking theoretically when she addressed Congress today. Last February, her husband and mother were murdered by a man she had ruled against.
How many times have I chastised myself for not recognizing this threat that became a reality? But this is neither my expertise, nor do I believe it is appropriate that I should be thinking about whether someone is dangerous when I'm trying to decide their case.
But while threats against federal judges have increased over the last 2 decades, funding for the U.S. Marshal Service, which protects them, has been cut.
Yet another factor that has increased anxiety on the bench and could cloud the judgment of those whose job it is to judge. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Chicago.
There is more on judges and courtroom security at abcnews.com. And when we come back, the mini drill to unclog arteries in the leg. It may also one day help the heart, our series Medicine on the Cutting Edge. The price of your clothing could be going up. For the second time in a week, the Bush administration has imposed new limits on imports of clothing from China. American manufacturers are complaining that a huge dump of cheap clothing from China is endangering their business. And stocks rallied for the third straight day. The Dow Jones ended the day up more than 130 points after a government report suggested that inflation is in check. The newly elected mayor of Los Angeles is Antonio Villaraigosa, and he thanked voters today after his historic victory overnight. He pledged to unite the city's racial and ethnic factions. Villaraigosa beat Mayor James Hahn 59 to 41%. He will be the city's first Hispanic mayor since 1872. We turn now to our series Medicine on the Cutting Edge. Tonight, a piece of equipment that takes us back to the future. 15 years ago, before balloons and stents were used to open up clogged arteries, some doctors tried to carve out plaque in the arteries by boring through them. It was crude and risky, but not anymore. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
For most people, walking is such simple, effortless movement, but not for Bill McClanahan.
I got to stop again. It's annoying pain I have in my left calf.
Sharp pain.
Sharp pain.
There's a complete blockage right here.
This is an image of the arteries in McClanahan's leg.
You should see this dark line of the blood flow going all the way down, but because of the blockage, you don't see that.
Patients with this problem are often given angioplasty to push aside the clogging plaque. But that stretches and damages the artery wall, and in the leg can trigger another blockage within months.
A little contrast?
On McClanahan, doctors are using something very different. A new device which can actually remove plaque from the body. It is a vast improvement on 1980s technology. With each pass, a miniature blade cuts the plaque, which is then pushed into the extended nose cone, then pulled out of the body. Even more remarkable, it's done through a tiny puncture in the groin, about the size of a pencil hole. Continuous x-rays guide the doctor as he threads the drill inside McClanahan's leg.
Sounds like a razor. The cutter is going through that area now, removing the plaque.
McClanahan has been given only a local anesthetic.
Are you hurting?
No.
Good.
So you don't feel anything when that device is on?
No.
And within 15 minutes, there it is.
That's the actual plaque that was blocking the blood flow in his leg.
Later this year, doctors will try removing plaque this way from arteries around the heart as an alternative to cardiac angioplasty and stents.
Stents do a really good job in about 80% of the cases that we're presented with. And this device offers the promise to address the remaining 20%.
That could be 250,000 Americans a year, getting plaque pulled out of arteries on the heart, the way it's now being removed from arteries in the leg. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
The man who played one of television's more memorable villains has died. Frank Gorshin was an accomplished actor and impressionist who won awards for playing George Burns on Broadway. But he achieved lasting fame as the Riddler, Batman's cackling archenemy. He appeared in the role 12 times on the campy Batman TV show, played Riddler again in the movies, marveling that it transformed him from a nobody to a headliner. Frank Gorshin was 71. When we come back, the new technology that revolutionized Star Wars, what a difference 28 years can make. Finally tonight, a cultural milestone will open tonight, at midnight to be exact. Devoted Star Wars fans will stay up most of the night to see a first showing of Revenge of the Sith. The first Star Wars movie was made 28 years ago with technology very crude by today's standards. Things are far more advanced now. The movie's creators waited for technology to catch up with their imaginations. ABC's Jake Tapper explains.
While the world was dazzled by the special effects in the first 3 Star Wars films, creator George Lucas was disappointed with the spaceships, the droids, and the monsters.
The first 3 fell short, and I was always unhappy about that.
In fact, the reason 16 years passed between the first 3 Star Wars films and the last 3 is that Lucas was waiting for technology to catch up with his imagination.
Perhaps nowhere are these advances more apparent than with the beloved Yoda.
Hurry! Careful timing we will need.
In earlier films, Yoda was a puppet.
You are reckless.
And in one scene, a little person in a Yoda outfit. Then a few years ago, head animator Rob Coleman demonstrated to Lucas what the new technology could do.
If you look at the mouth very closely, you will see we do actually have more movement in the mouth, even in this early test.
In Revenge of the Sith, Yoda is entirely digital and quite expressive. So how do they do this? It starts with animators acting out Yoda's scenes. In this one, Yoda instructs Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Use your feelings, Obi-Wan.
Computer software makes him even more lifelike.
Use your feelings, Obi-Wan.
Emotions are added. Yoda mad, Yoda worried. Finally, touches such as light coming through Yoda's ears, moisture in his eyes.
Use your feelings, Obi-Wan, and find him you will.
Lucas is so happy with the new technology, he's added new scenes to his old films.
Then I went back and fixed it.
Such as this one with Jabba the Hutt, cut from the original Star Wars because the animation was not good enough.
Look, Jabba, next time you want to talk to me, come see me yourself.
In the future, even these scenes may seem as crude as a latex puppet. But that day seems far, far away. Jake Tapper, ABC News, San Rafael, California.
And that is World News Tonight for this Wednesday. I'm Charles Gibson. For Peter Jennings and for all of us at ABC News, good night.